Right, who'll be first one out on track today then? Weather is dry, thank you for that. Let me just turn down my music slightly so I can actually hear the game. Someone's on their way out. Not sure who. It's an Alfa Romeo. It's Skirthard. So, first car venturing out onto the track. Game will not let me change the camera. Cool. No Brady or Adoro by the looks of things, yeah. It's quite a small grid. We might have more coming, but... Oh, English and Adoro are meant to be here. I know that. That's why we're starting a bit late, because we were waiting for them. I have a message in all caps from Freesh on Twitter. Let me just check that quickly. Oh, no. Okay, cool. That's fine. 1 Broughton, 2 Impulse, 3 Rosenquist. Yeah! I thought that's a pretty good prediction. Speaking to Rosenquist, outside of the FX server, they have shown some pretty good pace from what we've talked about. I think they've got them pretty close to a lap I've done, so I think they should be in for a good result, providing it stays out of the wall. Yeah, race would be good, but I don't think he'll be allowed. Anyway, of course, Skirthard coming through these final 2 corners, the penultimate of which has recently been reprofiled. I think just over a year ago now. So, first lap of the day from the Alfa Romeo, 2 laps into the session, 16 minutes remaining. Let's have a look here. Of course, regular track limits means you can push by a very healthy amount. And of course, you have to be careful through this right-hander. Those curbs off to the left will destroy your floor if you give them the opportunity. Perhaps the first sector, as is expected, as Revert brings out a yellow in the 3rd sector. That looks like just genuine slowing down, backing off before a lap type things. Let's see what lap they will be able to put in here. Salmon Baker and Haas, I believe, will be the next car to finish the lap as Skirthard goes straight on at the chicane. Never mind. Why the Russian helmet? I think it's meant to be a tribute to the recently deceased Queen of England. Yeah, it does look like Russia though. But yeah, Skirthard's still going purple. Seem to have some desync in the lobby today, so that might make things interesting into turn 1 or on the formation lap. Pixels is the only car to not leave the pit lane just yet. That is a lot of lag. It's the stream lagging for you. We'll see how it is with another driver after this lap, but we will stay on board, at least for the banker. Rip Queen Elizabeth, by the way, yeah. It's a 26.7 from Skirthard. It looks like the greatest lap in the world, but there'll be Salmon Baker in the Haas, who does the next one. That car looks to slightly over-rotate through that penultimate corner. And it is a 25.8, 9/10 of improvement there on Skirthard's time. Broughton for Ferrari, your championship leader, will be next through. 25.3, Curly behind, goes second with a 25.4, joining him on the front row. Rosenquist offers 26.4 to put it in 5th. And Eldorado jumps to the front row with a 25.4, just 30 milliseconds ahead of Curly there. So it'll be SOG and Impulse next on the lap, as we just see Broughton get out of the way. Bad lap, but they'll take it. Yeah, that's fair. Red should have been on the left, it's to be a tribute. The stream is fine, cool. Okay, cool. Good to know the stream is fine. Azzy is here. Hello, Azzy. She had a pretty good debut at Silverstone until she got caught up in an unfortunate accident. So it'd be interesting to see what she can put in tonight. Stream is fine. Can't flag. Okay, cool. Thank you. I think it's mostly Skirthard that's lagging. So, yeah. Just be aware of that. Everyone's turn 1. Got to turn a hot lap. Ooh, that's unlucky. Even then, though, 26.1 with that hot lap. Not too bad. PT is 1.4 faster. Yeah, You can probably find a good 8/10 of that. Of course, TT is a slightly more optimal conditions, low fuel, no ER, you don't really have to worry about ERS much, or tyre wear. But yeah, definitely something good. Azzy has jumped into the other Alpine. Of course, that is to be expected. It's worth noting that these two, Impulse and Azzy, did get together at Silverstone. Nice bit of contact. So that's happened to Impulse. Very well timed there. Thank you, Impulse, for the demonstration. I would assume we will see Herbie leaving the pit lane quite soon, but there is quite a lot of activity down here at the moment. Actually, yeah, it's the cross platform. Ah, okay. The hands are so cold. Ooh. Yeah, gloves, to be honest. That's gloves or heating, but probably gloves in this economy. So that's Impulse we just saw go into the pit lane, and now everyone's in the pit lane besides FV Pixels in the Aston Martin, I believe, is yet to score points this season. But as things stand, that looks to finally change. Number 66. No, that's Apex's number. What number does Pixels use? Number 29 on Aston Martin. There we go. Supposed to wear them off, but it isn't. Yeah, that's it. It might be like shoes though, where you just have to wear them in. I don't know. There's a Haas of Salmon Baker leaving the pit lane there as well, and I think, yep, Azzy is on her way out into the pit lane. 10.5 minutes to go. Quite a big queue of cars here. These lot will have to be careful of each other, as I'm saying that Azzy has just gone straight for it on the pit exit. She is wasting no time. So, yellow flag in sector 1, that can only be Curly. I think that's just letting the Mercedes of El Dorado go by. Okay, let's jump on board with Pixels, who is now starting their first flying lap of the day. Seems to take a little bit too much inside curb there, maybe pushing the car slightly wider than he would want to go. As Brady, your race winner, last time out in Silverstone, entered the lobby. So this means that there is now potential for Pixels to not score points for Aston Martin. Purple to the first sector. I'm not sure if that's a timing glitch or not, but if it isn't, it's a great start to the lap there from the Aston Martin. Break nice and late, but can't really go in too deep. Maybe that wasn't the most optimal line in the world. Missed a few apexes there, went a bit wide. That will really compromise your run as you head towards the third sector. Now I think that's, again, purple to the second sector, so I think that is a timing glitch, but takes out that inside bollard. We'll have to be careful that Broughton behind doesn't hit it, but I think it's already despawned. So FV Pixels currently scheduled to start from the back of the grid in the third sector. A few corners left to go. Where will he put this Aston Martin? Final corner now. It's not going to be a great time. It'll be a 27.3. That puts them P8 provisionally. But Azzy Iredale in the Alpine is looking to finish her lap. And if we're going by recent history, it will be a strong one. So we might see 11 drivers here. Depends on what happens with Brady. I will send them an invite just in case. If I could. I can't, for whatever reason. OJ English finally joins into the lobby, so we are getting a few drivers in now. Could see upwards of 12 today. Salmon Baker goes purple with a 25.0. Puts 3/10 on Broughton there. Brady said he wanted to race. I mean, is it really up to the people? If he wants to race, I see no issue in it. Would make for an interesting title finale as well, but JLBROUGHTON goes past the second sector as Azzy Iredale for the Alpine takes pole by exactly 3/10 of a second. This is going to try and take him out. I wouldn't think so, but I mean, I guess the concern is fair. Welcome English, no worries about being late, you are here just in time as this battle for pole is starting to heat up. JL Broughton has had a spin at the final corner, will link that Ferrari back into the pit. Yes, Eldorado has also had a moment in the first sector. Clearly just lost the rear somewhere through that long right-hander and deposited nicely by the Rolex signage. SOG and Impulse also returning to the pit lane, so quite a few either of the runs being aborted here. Though in saying that, VNT Rosenquist, they've just improved by 40 milliseconds. Come on, I'm getting pole here. He needs 7/10 to do it. It's going to be quite a big asking, but the track will evolve. You have to remember some of these times were set on a green surface. Rosenquist really pushing the track limits, and you can absolutely afford to do it. Regular track limits, so push it as much as you realistically can. Yellow flags down by the hairpin, that's Curly. Yeah, regular track limits are amazing. Like, the amount of pole positions that I've taken in this league from just, like, extending a corner that you really shouldn't be able to extend is too many than I would like to admit. Or more than I'd like to admit. Oops. Anyway, final few corners now for Rosenquist, but the lap does get aborted. That is fair enough. Judging by the timings, it wouldn't have been great. Curly slowing down to try and let Broughton through a lot of things. That might have put the Ferrari driver off a little bit, but that looked okay. Ferrari driver isn't in that lap, so maybe Curly looking to try and borrow some lines. Hungary, Summer Series. We don't talk about Hungary. On the chicane. Yeah. That was interesting. Too late to do anything about it now, though. We're getting pole. You never know, Dorado. Track will evolve, especially as a night race. Track will get some nice temperature. Emily, you can gain so much. Can you? I haven't really tried around Emily. Well, I suppose like Aqua Minerale and stuff would be quite good for it. Might have to give that a go at some point. Right, that's what we'll do. If we have a moment like Silverstone where the lobby crashes, we're going to test out Imola on regular track limits and see what happens. Hungary's just a bad track to the FC. Yeah, that's true. Because there was the Bayliss incident, and then, well, Broughton incident. So quite a few people coming out, maybe starting off on some final runs. I need to try and work out who's at the front of this train. And it's Broughton on the lap, but actually it might even be Skirthard coming around to finish one first in the Alfa Romeo. Very big corner cut, but it gets on the brakes quite heavily there. I don't know if that was the result of a spin or not. So, JL Broughton in the final sector. That car looks quite nice to handle, so this could be a good lap. Could see them be the second driver to break into the 24s here. So I'm going to have to go start making some championship graphics soon. Broughton goes third with a 21.5, but immediately gets displaced back down to fourth by Curly, who improves with a 24.8, jumping Salmon Baker for the front row. Mercedes Dorado comes through. I don't think there was any improvement on that time. They stay P6. Pixels and Impulse still sharing the back row. So Curly is Azzy's nearest threat at the minute. Be interesting to see whether she comes out to improve or settles for what is quite likely to be a front row start. have we got on laps here? Broughton, I would assume this isn't on the second lap. Yeah, it's 7.1 down. I don't... Oh, this looks like a lap for Dorado. They've gone purple to the second sector. Broughton, you're going to need to get out of the way. We might have some traffic shenanigans going on here. Broughton finally jumps out of the Mercedes' way, but it might be too late by this point. 120 as we enter the final corner. Power out of final corner. It will be a 27.7. 10 milliseconds on top of the Alpine. And with seemingly a bit of a block from Broughton, that could easily be an even quicker lap if they save the tyres and have the fuel for it. So, Impulse leaves the pit lane for the final time this session. Will be looking to put in a lap to get himself off the back row of the grid. As the Iredale is now leaving the pit lane in her Alpine. Be interesting to see what her response is to Dorado's time. I was on AI, apologising to Kelly. That's fair enough. Yeah, unfortunately we can't see it on the broadcast anymore. Revert also leaving the pit lanes. So a few drivers on track looking to improve. Rosenquist in the Red Bull is one of them. My voice is already taking a hit from this. This is going to be interesting. That Red Bull actually looks really quite nice to drive. I'd quite like to try out that setup. English leaves the session. They were never able to actually start driving. Very good run through Latifi corner there, as I'm going to name it. Final two corners for the Red Bull. It looked like a pretty decent lap, but it will be a 27.3, so maybe the camera's slightly deceiving us there. As the Iredale will be the next car to start a lap. Dorado 4/10 up. Oh, that's unlucky. You've got 20 seconds to make it back to the light. Oh no, you're in the pit lane. And if the second straight, I was 2/10 from the slight block. Oh, that's unfortunate. As the Iredale comes through to start her final lap of the day. Revert has done the same, but will Pixels be able to make it in time? Nope, that car gets loaded into the pit lane and leaves the session. So only a few cars left to do laps now, just Azzy, Revert and Rosenquist. Pixels DC'd, oh no. So Rosenquist will be the next car to finish here in qualifying. They're currently 2/10 up. A little bit more improvement. Oh, that's a big spin to the Red Bull, but luckily keeps it out of the wall. Maybe not quite what they were looking for tonight, but they have kept it off the back row of the grid. That is something to take out of this session. As the Iredale in the Alpine, it goes purple to the second sector, currently 4.5 up. The only car left to challenge her will be the Alpine of Revert, currently 2/10 up, but it will not be enough. So as long as she can take this lap to the end comfortably, she will have pole position. And like Broughton says, the qualifying curse continues for the Alfa Romeo driver. But the big story at the moment is Azzy Iredale lost a lot of time, never mind, gained a lot of time in that final sector to take pole by over an entire second. That is absolutely breathtaking as Revert spins it. No, it doesn't spin. Just a nice slow walk up to the line. Azzy very speedy. I think she could be an interesting one to watch in Season 5. Assuming she does participate. Very fast. Revert nearly flew into the pit wall. Yikes. So, it's Azzy Iredale for the Alpine who takes pole by over a second in the penultimate round of the championship, followed by Dorado on the front row. Third and fourth went to Curly and Salmon Baker, and fifth to 10th went to Broughton, Revert, Impulse, Rosenquist, Skirt Hard, and our formation lap gets underway here in Abu Dhabi, and it's Azzy Iredale who takes pole for Alpine. Will be starting on the mediums after a dominant session. Takes pole by over a second today. Eldorado joins her on the front row, starting on the soft in the Mercedes. So from there it's Curly, Salmon Baker, Broughton, Revert, Impulse, Rosenquist, Skirt Hard, Pixels, and OJ English. A last minute entry into today's race. This man here, your championship leader, JLBROUGHTON, requires just 6 points to win the title today. So will they be able to wrap it up with one round left to go? We'll find out shortly. I'm going to go and run and get some water quickly. So here's Azzy. We ran out of orange juice. We ran out of water, so I have a big thing of orange juice. Anyway, on the grid now, everyone is formed up. Some making in the car not to park correctly from what I saw. 5 lights. And we are away for the penultimate round of FVC2. Eldorado gets a much better launch than Azzy. It's a good run into turn 1 for them. Eldorado takes the lead from Azzy in the Alpine. She will be struggling a little bit on those medium tyres. Will be under quite a lot of pressure from Curly and Salmon Baker. Speaking of those two, Salmon Baker gets past Curly for the position. Broughton loses 1, but Curly will be trying it round the outside on the Haas. And actually seems to get away with it. A little bit of contact on exit there, but they have just about made it. So now Revert slipstreaming on Curly, who's also trying to be passed by Salmon. It's gone quite mad up at the front here. Curly keeps ahead of Revert, but Revert will be looking to fight that back quite quickly. Yellow flag comes out as Broughton gets forced to leave the circuit there. Impulse getting past Rosenquist there. Both drivers on the medium, so it's a fair fight in terms of tyre compounds. Revert gets into both Curly and Salmon. So, we've got quite a few battles going on here. Big trainer cars. Eldorado goes for the 29.5, that's to be expected. He will start coming under pressure from Azzy quite soon, I should think. And as far as I think, these two drivers up front have already pulled almost a 2-second gap on third down in a lap. That's just how much time you lose from a battle in these cars. Yellow flag in sector 1, and it's your championship leader. JLBROUGHTON has spun. So up at the front, let's see what is going on here. Impulse near the back of Salmon Baker. Azzy's teammate looking to make quite... well, looking to pick up quite good points considering everything that's happened. But Rosenquist spins. Might have been contact with OJ English there, I'm not sure. But meanwhile, up at the front, Dorado starting to feel some pressure now from Azzy. 3.5 tenths between them. Of course, she lost what seemed to be a very good chance of a win in Silverstone. She will not be eager to see that happen again. Yellow flags out once more. Rosenquist spinning, maybe overheating those soft tyres a little bit. Azzy just using a bit more of the track there and can really benefit from doing that. Azzy goes purple with a 27.3 shortly after Dorado did, but Broughton once more spinning in the third sector. That Ferrari needs to get on some medium tyres and go right the way to the end. Speaking of going into the pit lane, Skirthard brings their car into the pit lane as Eldorado is already out of battery. So Azzy will look to the inside, but she doesn't go for it. Of course, that car has quite a bit more energy to deploy than the Mercedes as OJ English retires. That looks like an accident there. They've just completely spun it. Virtual safety car is deployed. That will be slightly beneficial for Skirthard, who had to come in to change a wing. So, race neutralised. What are we thinking so far? It's been quite a crazy few opening laps, hasn't it? It's worth noting that Reva has closed up quite significantly. Is this something Dorado is trying to do so that he will attack Azzy so Dorado can run for the race win? I'm not sure. Skirthard takes a drive through for speeding under the VSC. That's quite unfortunate for them. So when is this virtual safety car going in is my question. We will not be given the notification. We will just find out. But Reva is chancing it going into the pit lane. Skirthard gets a second drive through for speeding. Oh, Reva choosing to make that pit stop as Skirthard gets disqualified. I think that was, you know, quite inevitable with how much they were speeding there. But, well, we are back underway once more. So Azzy immediately putting more pressure on Dorado, and Dorado is not going to be happy that Reva chose to box there. So good, moves to the left and makes a lovely move down the straight with a nice bit of DRS. Lovely move by the Alpine, and she will just be keen to completely run up the road now. It is very much worth noting that I think Reva currently is in the best standing point to win this race. I mean, got a half of a free pit stop onto virtual safety car, and was right behind these two, so Azzy is going to need to really drive the wheels off of that Alpine if she wants to win. I mean, Skirthard, did look like you were absolutely flooring it down that straight, so I don't know. It did look like you were speeding. Broughton gets past Rosenquist for 5th now, also got past Reva in the same corner. But if you look at that, Azzy is absolutely running. She's already pulled over a second on Dorado. Reva will be looking to try and fight back on Broughton, who now enters the pit lane. But Broughton's going to need to hope for a miracle if he wants to wrap up the title today. Now, it is worth noting, these clouds are looking a little bit dark. Now, I'm not one to say rain, you know, but I think it could rain. Like, that is a dark sky by F1 standards anyway, I think. At least quite overcast. Yellow flag in Sector 1, that's Curly having a problem there on those fresh mediums, maybe not quite as up to temperature as he would like them. So, closest battle on track is between Salmon and Rosenquist. Rosenquist looked to have some pretty good pace before we got into qualifying, but I think they can find it. Just need to try and be a little bit smoother with the steering. So, Salmon Baker 3/10 back from the Red Bull. 2.5 now. We could see quite a certain move coming up in these next few corners, which I think would be quite special, but Rosenquist runs wide. Salmon will go right round the outside of them. That was a beautiful move by the Haas. Easily one of the best we have seen this race as Eldorado ducks into the pit lane. What happened? You weren't paying attention. There was a virtual safety car because English crashed. Gerhard got disqualified. Revert went purple with a 27-0. And Azzy has made a move for the lead. But Revert managed to get a half of a free stop under the virtual safety car. So Azzy is going to have to absolutely run if she wants to win. It's worth noting Broughton has not had a great start to things. P9 at the moment. Needs to find 4 positions to win. Needs 6 points to take the title today. And as things stand, that is not going to happen. But in saying that, Gerhard leaves the session. They're disqualified. Never mind. So, Eldorado will have the DRS and Salmon Baker that will be keen to try and move through the field quite quickly. Of course, not stopping under that virtual safety car has put him at a severe disadvantage. So that begs the question, what will happen when Azzy comes into pit? You can only stay on those mediums for so long, and Salmon can only stay in front of the Mercedes for so long. Dorado looked at the inside, but doesn't quite go for it, but it's closing through the long left-hander. Side by side, will we see a replica of the move that was performed on Rosenquist? They bang wheels. Dorado is on an absolute mission to keep fighting for this win, but Salmon is not eager to let those points go. Salmon right up to the wall there. These two are going to have to be quite careful not to get any contact. Dorado looking at the inside but won't get it done. Is being held up majorly. This just plays more and more into Azzy's hands, and especially Revert's. Dorado closing at a nice rate but struggling to make a move. His best opportunity will be into the hairpin as Broughton to prove why he leads this championship. 27-0 from the Ferrari driver. Dorado looking to make a move, but will now just have to rely on the DRS, but they're out of battery. We'll have DRS, but we'll have to hope that that is enough. Salmon Baker can burn off some. He looks to the inside, won't send it, can't brake late enough to put a move on Salmon. We'll have to try and take a better exit out of the chicane, which he's now got. Combine that with DRS and use up any battery left, and it could be a nice move into the hairpin. Rosenquist takes a 3-second for corner cutting. That will not be good for their overall finishing time. It's side by side with the camera cuts, and Dorado emerges on the other side ahead. But Salmon will not be keen for that. Salmon seems to be braking a little bit later than Dorado. Salmon might try and make a very optimistic lunge into the near future. Isabel's noting that both drivers are catching FB pixels, so he could very quickly become a factor in this race. Okay, there's FB pixels. Hang on. I'm just going to stop in the chat for a second whilst I put this song on play. So Rosenquist into the pit lane, locks up slightly, but brings it in, so that will promote Broughton into a few more points, but it won't quite... It's still not enough for him to win. I have chat back. So, it's this woman right here, Azzy Iredale, who is trying to push a nice gap on Revert for the lead of the race. It's going to be quite a close one, I think, by the end. We will definitely see an overtake in these last few laps. Or will we? Depends how well Revert can defend. Absolutely annihilated that DRS squad by those things, but maybe not. But Pixel's now being caught by Dorado, and who is in turn dragging along Salmon Baker. Salmon Baker with a little bit more battery to be able to mount an attack with in the future. So have to see what exactly goes on between these three. I think if I were Azzy, I would be coming in this time by throwing this out of soft, so you'd have to take them a little bit longer maybe than you'd want to. But it might be worth the risk as Pixels over-rotates massively. Dorado goes into the back of them. Did that Mercedes lose a bit of wing? I can't see. It looks okay, but that will bring Salmon into the mix now. Salmon on the inside. Contact Pixels wide. Salmon spun. I'm not exactly sure what happened there, but Pixels throws Van Aston Martin into the pit lane. So, Dorado, after some contact with Simon Baker, lugs that Mercedes into P4. Of course, had some pretty good pace in qualifying, started on the front row, but is very much in danger of losing it to Revert. 7.8 seconds between them. And unless something really bad happens to Impulse, Dorado might not even be on the podium anymore. It could be a double Alpine podium. Possibly even a 1-2 if they manage this correctly. I'm saying that though, with how close Revert is, I'm not so sure. No, that wouldn't happen. In fact, yeah, Dorado's podium is safe at the moment. I slightly misread the gaps there, but you can see Impulse having to lift to keep the tyres in check as he finally brings that Alpine into the pit lane. So now the question becomes, where will she emerge? Revert is going to have to drive the wheels off that Alfa Romeo. And if Impulse wants to play the team game, he will stay out. He has not. Revert is absolutely flying towards turn 1, but will it be enough to get in front of Azzy, your current race leader? She's in the tunnel. Revert gets past on paper. You can see Revert on the left hand of your screen there, right side now. Revert takes the lead from Azzy Iredale, but she will now have that soft tyre advantage, burning up a little bit of battery just to stay in DRS. And now she will begin her hunt with a fresh set of softs. Give her a few seconds to get them warmed up. I think by the time we're in Sector 3, that Alpine will be ready to fight. As noting, Impulse also comes out behind Sam Baker. So that Dorado Salmon collision could have played into Impulse's hands a little bit, but Azzy immediately wasting no time, looking to go for a move on the Alfa Romeo driver, goes simultaneously purple to the second sector and takes the position nicely. A fantastic move by the Alpine there. Further down, it's Impulse and Salmon Baker side by side through the hairpin. Curly also trying to climb onto this battle. Impulse making the most of those fresh softs, but once more, we see Salmon being unwilling to let go of a nice position there, almost breaking the front wing. Really leaving the braking late for the Haas. Roughly 1.2 seconds between these three. You see Curly running very wide in the background of your screen. And this is now Broughton's fight for the title. That Ferrari in the background. If he can even clear just one of these cars, the championship will be his, I believe. It might already be his, I don't know. I don't know the point system very well. 25, 18, 16, no, 25, 18, 15, 12, 10, 8, 6, 4, 2, 1. Oh yeah, so as things stand, Broughton will take the championship. But Broughton will be eager for more points. The champion does not want to take his championship by finishing in P7, I'm sure of that. Looks for a nice move on the inside of Curly there. Looks like they almost make contact, it won't happen, but Broughton will have a much nicer run into this section. Will have DRS from the AlphaTauri. And that is firmly his position now as he moves up towards Salmon Baker. Once again, this is getting a little bit darker now as Azzy Iredale goes purple to 25.8. She is looking to absolutely maximise her 26 points this weekend. Let's say after being unlucky at Silverstone, it has been a fantastic comeback. And it's looking to be a great win so far for her. But meanwhile, further down the field, it's lap 12 out of 15. There is a nice battle for 5th going on between these three, Salmon, Broughton and Curly. Broughton really starting to push the track limits now, definitely wanting to pick up as many points as possible to make sure his championship is safe. Rosenquist has a moment in Sector 1 that allows the Aston Martin Pixels to get through. And meanwhile, Broughton is closing on Salmon Baker here. Will look to maybe make an attack on the outside, but it won't quite happen. Gets covered off by Salmon. Will he be able to replicate the same move he did on Curly? Not quite, but we'll have even more DRS heading towards this hairpin. We've seen quite a few nice bits of driving here today. He's going to try and take the outside. Almost contact, but Salmon just gets behind in time. Once again, another lovely move. Some great overtakes being pulled off today, even if it is an 11-car field. Very overcast skies now. We could very much be looking at some rain in the next few laps. We saw it happen at Miami. It could happen again. Curly also running quite wide off the circuit there. Maybe those views are starting to fall off. Same age as Salmon's. Let's see. Oh, Salmon runs into the back of the championship leader. All kinds of contact. There's a massive bit of Ferrari end plate that's come off there. That's really unfortunate for your championship leader. That wasn't Ferrari end plate. That must have been Haas end plate. So now it's Haas and Curly drag race down the straight. Meanwhile, Pixels has a spin below. Curly gets past Salmon Baker. So does Broughton. Broughton will be looking to try and reclaim as many lost positions as possible. Will be looking to try and get that Ferrari back into P5, but Curly will not let it go like they did last time. Once again, Broughton favouring the outside through there. It's a lovely move, but the car might not quite have enough grip. Pixels takes a 3 second as these two are still side by side. Broughton leads, but it wouldn't be hard for Curly to try and go back in front, but it's not quite going to happen. Meanwhile, Salmon Baker limping that half back around with its damage as he starts the penultimate lap of this race. Curly also pushing pretty wide on track limits, but I don't think that's the damage. That AlphaTauri's wing is in fact intact. So, the question now becomes, who is finishing 5th? Put in your predictions now. It's a great fight between these three. When saying that Curly lumps it over those curbs, that might be a damaged floor. I can't see any visual damage, but that's not to say there isn't any. Pretty nice straight line here. Broughton just pulling out the DRS of Curly. So the battle for 5th seems all but settled. So what now between Curly and Salmon Baker? Both cars tangled in that earlier incident. It's time to decide 6th. Curly starting to pull away a little bit from Salmon Baker now. Ooh, what sign is this? Hang on, I need to lighten this on. Salmon Baker within 8.5 tenths of Curly. It's the last lap and the skies are extremely overcast here. But as things stand, it's a dry run to the end. Curly goes wide, maybe having some trouble with those tyres now. 11 laps out, where it must be getting quite high. Salmon might be looking for a move as Pixels is going slowly in the 3rd sector. Will Salmon be able to pull something off here as we run into the chicane? Haas closing with a broken front wing, goes to the left, but will have to contend with the damage as well as that AlphaTauri. It's side by side, but meanwhile at the front, Ayadale comes round the final corner to finally win in FVC2. She lost it in quite dramatic fashion in Silverstone, and she'll reverse across the line here in Abu Dhabi. Salmon and Curly once more fighting this out like nothing else. Salmon looking to make that final move round the outside. They both make contact, both spin but save it. It's fantastic stuff. Curly gets back ahead for the AlphaTauri. Salmon will not be eager to let this go, but just in front of them, the new champion of FVC2, JLBROUGHTON, comes around the final corner. Behind them, Salmon and Curly once more fighting this down to the absolute wire. It will be neck and neck across the line, 5 milliseconds in it. Salmon just getting the position at the last possible moment. Rosenquist will be next across, followed by FV Pixels. But your champion crowned here in Abu Dhabi is this man, JLBROUGHTON for Ferrari. Not the greatest start to the race, but they brought it back just enough to get the necessary amount of points that they need. It's been a great race here in Abu Dhabi, a few incidents to speak of, but some fantastic wheel-to-wheel action, with Ayadale winning the race. I think if you win in Portugal, you might be able to think, I'll get high enough. Oh, really? I haven't actually seen this down. I'm just going from what I've been told. But it's Ayadale who takes a dominant win for Alpine. She drove absolutely fantastically, made the great move on Revert, who came home in second. And Dorado fought very well for his podium. A small incident to speak of, but a pretty good race. Fourth down went to Impulse and Broughton in fifth, who is now your champion of FVC2, followed by Salmon, Curly, Rosenquist, Pixels and Skirthard to round out the top 10, followed by OJ English for the Mercedes.